I want to talk to you about something you may not know anything about, and it is essential. I want to put a call out to the 912 Project and anyone who understands now that the way to beat things is not through the House or the Senate or the presidency. That it is time to regroup as much as you possibly can and start looking closer to home. The way to beat things is to understand and play by the rules. We have been looking at this thing upside down because we're playing with their rules. We need to play with the founders' rules. We need to understand the power. If the people want their power, then they need to exercise their power in the constitutional way, which is closest to home. And we have overlooked our power closest to home. And while we have been looking over here, the fox is in the hen house. Common Core is something that every American needs to know about. And I challenge the 912 Project to get involved in Common Core. This is the front line. Pat and I have been talking about this for a long time. We have no idea why we moved to Texas. We really felt led to be here in Texas. We feel something is happening here in Texas. We put it together just a couple of weeks ago that our first inkling really happened while we were on the air. And there was a story out of Texas about how they were changing the curriculum and they were not going to teach the Alamo. And I said, even if I have to move down there, we are not going to let that happen. We cannot lose Texas. And if you look, there's a story on the Blaze, came out a couple of days ago, that is truly so horrifying, I won't even look at it. It's one of the only stories that has come out on the Blaze that I've read the headline, and I went, oh, man, that is so important. I won't read the story because I don't want to get bummed out. And it is about demographics and the changing that is coming quickly to Texas. The Democrats are doing everything they can to Texas now what they just did to Colorado. And if Texans don't wake up, you're going to lose your state. You're going to lose your state, and you're going to lose it quickly.
Yeah, they already got all the makings in place. Everything they did in Colorado to make that
it's all here.
Blue state.
It's all here.
They're doing it here.
Okay, so that story is on the Blaze now, and Texans, you got to wake up. Now, here's where you come in. One of the things they've done to Texas, Rick Perry was very good with Common Core, and he said Common Core is not coming to Texas. We will not have this nonsense in Texas. And there are, I think, 3 states. Can somebody get the map we used on television last night with the with all the states? There's like 3 or 4 states that said no. Now there are like 15 of the states that currently have big operations running against Common Core, and they're getting close to kicking Common Core out. Here's what Common Core is. There are 3 pieces of it you have to know. 1, the dumbing down. This is something that has been designed with the help of Bill Ayers. It teaches that communism is fantastic. It teaches this new math that, Jeffy, could you turn this chalkboard around, see if it has the math problems on it? Have you seen this yet, Stu? The math that they're trying to teach is insane. They're trying to teach the new math will be count all the tens first and then add everything else up. Now look at, here we have 29 plus 17, 46. Okay? That's the way we do it today. But look at the new way. 20 plus 9, 10 plus 7 is 30 plus 16. 10 plus 6 is 40 plus 6 equals 46. Is that insane?
Is that supposed to be easier?
Yeah. Yeah. This is the way they're teaching new math. And here's what's happening. They are pushing all of the hard math, any kind of algebra, any kind of higher math, up to the last couple of years in high school. You will not be able to do calculus if this is the way you're learning math, and they know it. None of this stuff has ever been tested. In fact, it is not even being accredited. It when they first were pushing this, they said globally, what was it? Globally accepted or global standards, international standards. And now it says they had to remove that because no other nation, they all looked at it and said, this is nuts. And so now it says globally viewed, meaning other nations looked at it.
Please.
The guys from Stanford, the guys from, I think it's Harvard, all said, this is crazy. You will destroy math. So the first part of this is the lessons are awful, just awful. In reading, they're taking away, in your early years, they are giving 70% classics and 30%, and I'm not kidding you, manuals. So 30% of your reading time has to be on, and I am not making this up, Ben Bernanke's latest release from the Fed. Now, you tell me what fifth grader even gives a flying crap about that. There's no story to that. 30% has to be manuals. 70% is classics. By the time you reach high school, it's reversed. 70% is, and again, I'm not making this up. What is it, the R rating for insulation? Isn't it the R rating? Right? It's been a while since I've worried about R rating. But it is the EPA manuals on how to decide what kind of insulation you need to have in houses. That's what they will be doing for book reports. This is a way to do two things. One, kill the love of reading. They will kill it. Two, to kill the classics. It's book burning. They're not going to burn the books or ban the books. They're just saying you read whatever you want. 30% of the time, 70% of the time, you have to read these. Well, who's going to think that there's a book worth reading? They're making our kids into slaves. Okay, so first part is curriculum. Really dangerous. Second part is Common Core is already all across America. All of the states already have adopted this. Now, if you look at the states that have said no, there are, let me see.
Are the ones in red the ones that have said no?
Blue are no.
Blue or no?
Blue or no.
What are the ones in red?
The ones in red are the ones with really high level of activity and awareness.
Yeah, it says rejection pending.
Okay.
Right. And so that is not, there might be a bill to revoke it, but they either have a bill or they're very close to a bill rejecting it, and the time is on. And then the gray states on this chart are the ones that there's really not much going on. California has a big movement, but it is so lopsided. And what your teachers are doing and what your state officials will tell you is, this is already in. It's already done. It's too late. No, it's not. No, it's not. The second part of this is it has gone in. It went in without the people knowing it. It went in without the teachers even reading it. Some of the teachers, they don't know what the curriculum even is yet. This was put in by the stimulus. This came in through the Tides Foundation. This is stimulus money that put this in. So this, while we were worried about health care, what was the other hand doing? Fundamentally changing all of our schools. And there are penalties for not going with it, for not going with it. If you don't go with it, then you have to be held to higher standards in your state. What this is, the attractive part of this is the standards are so low. All the standards come down. So all the failing schools, and if you can't get your school up with all the testing and everything else, you get the money anyway because your standards are going down. So the second part again on this is it went through without public approval. People didn't read it. They don't know what it is. And it was an end run around the people and around the Constitution. It went in basically through bribery, through the stimulus package. You'll get dollars. All you have to do is get this new Common Core. What is that? It's just going to be a national curriculum. Okay, we'll do it. You will not have, PTAs will have no say. You'll never be able to go to your school and say, I don't like this curriculum. What is this? What are you teaching? This doesn't work. You don't have the right to say it in your local school board because it's run nationally. So all of our schools will be controlled by the nation, not by the local school board. You will not be able to change the curriculum unless you decide not to be credited. If you don't want to be accredited, fine, that's fine. But nobody can do that. They're changing the PSATs. They're changing the SATs. All of the testing will be changed. So if you haven't learned math this way, you're not going to be able to get into college. And it's this close to being done. If you don't act now, you've taken the right of the state away for any kind of discussion on education. The states have no rights on education if this goes through and you let it stand in your state. That's the second piece. First piece, again, curriculum is really bad. Second piece is states' rights. Third piece is just as bad. Who's one of the big funders? One of the big funders, one of them, is Bill Gates. The data mining on this is horrifying. The data mining, they are going to track your kids from the minute they enter school, and the things they're tracking, not just their grades, not just their behavior, but also how much does the family earn? Is the family Republican or Democrat? They are tracking 400 data points on your children. Now, they're saying they're doing this because that way they'll be able to know, what homes are better with education. What are the bullcrap? Bullcrap. They are mining our children for data. If your child makes a mistake, in the 6th grade, that will be carried with him in the federal system forever. And they're telling you that they don't have the system to be able to opt out. They don't have that in the system. You can't opt out. Why? You just don't put my name in it. Now what they started to tell people is, okay, well, we don't share it. We share it blindly unless state officials say it's okay. So we'll share it blindly unless state officials. But if you go through the paperwork and you see how they define state officials, it's anyone who works for the state. It's like you could have somebody who's working for the state who's not the Board of Education, not the governor, just one of the officials from the state. It's like, yep, you can use that. This is really horrific. Watch the show last night. We're going to do another show next week. It's part of a series on education. We started it last week with what's happening in Texas. This week, Common Core. I don't think I really understood how bad this is because I never put together the states' rights thing. I knew the data mining. I didn't know the 400 points. And I didn't understand the state rights and run. This is critical. They have just crippled the U.S. Constitution, and they've taken your right as a parent. You have no right to teach your kid. You can't take them out of school. If you take them out of school, you have to have Common Core. You homeschooling will have to use Common Core. If you want to put them in a private school, this is already happening, I think, in Wisconsin or Michigan, or it was happening in Indiana. That's how somebody finally got on it.
How would they force homeschoolers to use Common Core?
Because you have to go into the standards, and I guess it's all the tracking.
Is it because they're using that for all the testing? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And the only way to get your kids into college is to go through that system.
Yes.
Which I still wouldn't do.
Forget college.
Nope.
Forget college.
Well,
or
start one of your own.
But I'm telling you, you will eliminate all options. It was in Indiana, a Catholic school. The parents said, "What the heck is this? What are you teaching?" And the parents found out it was Common Core, and they said, "Well, let's get this out of here." And they couldn't. So they had to go to and it started with parents. They had to go to the state, and they got it pulled out of the state. You can make a difference. It's going to be an uphill battle, but at this point, right now, you're still dealing with the state and the local. You are not dealing with Washington yet, but you only have about 12 months before this thing's in stone. You've got to pull it out right now. Red alert. Get this out of your state. And don't do what we did here in Texas. We pulled it out. And then we gave it to another one called C-Scope, which made an end run again. They know. They have watched. They know. They're way ahead of us on this. Be very, very careful. If you are homeschooling now, this makes a difference. If you're a homeschooling family, you have to get involved on what's happening in your state. You have to.
And to get caught up on all of it, obviously theblaze.com has a lot of articles, but also, got to say, Michelle Malkin.
She has been
all
on this for
over
a long
this.
time.
She has a new column today on the data mining stuff that you got to read to understand this. It's amazing.
Yeah, and please, I'm begging you, 912 Project, if you would just make this your project, you could change the country. Please get involved in this. It is Common Core. Look for the information at The Blaze. Look for it on The Blaze TV. And Michelle Malkin is also a leader in this. Seek out Michelle Malkin's essay on it today.
I struggle with all of this. I grew up there, not the best schools. I still think they're not the best schools, but I love.
Sir, I will say this, out of all fairness,
I went to Essex
questions.
Community College. I finished at the University of Maryland. And now I moved my family out to Howard County because of the reputation of the schools.
Okay, so in all fairness to other parents who submitted questions, I do want to be fair, sir.
Community college. And, it's so
Sir.
My question is, how are we, you talk about college, you're not talking about which colleges, you're not preparing them for World Harvard. Okay, my question is, how is lowering America's educational standards to prepare kids for community college? Because that's what it's all about. Because you mentioned before, the emphasis is, we're not having some stuff here to quote before this guy tries to carry me out.
Okay.
But, hey, parents, take control. This is not a CNN political debate. Let's go.
Let him ask his question.
This is what I will say, in fairness to everyone who asked questions, we do have some that are dovetailing to that.
Let him ask his question.
So the next question. So this is a dovetail.
Don't stand for this. You're sitting here like cattle. You have questions. You confront them. They don't want to do it in public.
Okay, the next
Excuse me, buddy. Hey, this is America. This is not a CNN political debate. You're managing to go through. Hey, that's right. Parents, you need to question these people. Do the research. It's online.
Okay, so the next question. The next question to our panelists. The next question to our panelists is Dr. Lowry.
I'm not an activist. I don't have experience. I'm a parent. I have a right to speak.
Okay. So
You're asking softball questions.
And again, I do want to be very respectful to everyone who asks questions. And so the next question really is, Dr. Lowry, to you, because you work so closely with 2- and 4-year institutions. Is the Common Core state standards implementation by Maryland an attempt to filter students to the community college?
And now they're concerned